Welcome to the Dragon's Library, your source for games, movies, shows, and more. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So, today I'm finally reviewing Hades. I know, it's been so long, but it's finally done. I finished as much of the game as I feel comfortable with doing right now, so I'm going to go ahead and review it. So, I haven't fully finished the game yet. I want to make that clear. That's partially because I've been playing it for like 4 or 5 weeks now, and I just have not gone all the way through. So, this is going to be... But I have beaten the final boss multiple times. I'm going to get into that in a bit. This is going to be a mostly non-spoiler review, with the spoiler section afterwards, and that spoiler section will not be spoiling the final ending of the game. So, alright. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Hades is a roguelite. I know there's roguelike and roguelite. Roguelite games are games that have a procedural generation of levels, and upon death there's a reset, but the difference between roguelite and roguelite is that roguelite will often have changes such as abilities or currencies that allow you to upgrade yourself before the run, so you have a form of progression, basically. You're not set to a complete zero. Anyway, the game itself is about the son of Hades, Zagreus, seeking to escape his father's realm and go live with the gods on Olympus. This later turns into figuring out more about his mother, who turns out to be, surprise, surprise, not Nyx, but Persephone. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, which I guess is probably smaller than I think, this is heavily based on Greek mythology. Now, Hades and Persephone, Hades kidnapping / eloping with Persephone as a price from Zeus, arranging their marriage, and then Demeter getting all angry, causing winter. Persephone goes back to the surface to be with her mother, but she eats the, pomegranate, binding her to the underworld. Thus, the cycle of seasons is established. That's the basic Greek myth. I'm leaving out a lot. But that's the basic gist. You've probably seen this story in some form or another because it's one of the most famous Greek myths that have survived to the modern day. This is basically a sort of new take on that whole story. I'm not going to spoil too much right now, but I will say it does have to do with that. For example, pretty soon into the game, you're going to meet Demeter, who is in her I must punish everyone because they took Demeter from me winter goddess form, basically. And the main premise of the game is that you're Zagreus, son of Hades. Nyx, your adoptive mother, you later learn, who is like the goddess of night, and kind of co-rules the underworld with Hades. It's complicated, it has to do with chthonic gods, and Nyx being a really, really ancient goddess who predates the Olympians. Non-mythology fans don't want to hear this. Myth fans probably are like, ooh, fun. But yeah. The main gameplay is that you have to fight through 3 levels of Hades. First you start in Tartarus, where all the, punished souls go. Then you go to the fields of Asphodel, which is supposed to be like a wheat field, but it's actually, this giant lava field because there was a spill a few hundred years back, and still heavily damaged, so it's just full of lava and stuff. And then you get to Elysium, which is the top of the underworld, which has, where all the souls of those who did really great things in their lives, all the heroes, stuff like that go. And then you get to the surface where you have to fight against Hades himself. Each level has a boss. You have one of the Furies, and you have a Bone Hydra, and then you have, spoiler, I'm going to talk about that later. The Elysium boss is really cool, though. I want to talk about in the spoiler section. But yeah. I really like Hades. I wouldn't have waited this long to review it if I didn't. I would have stopped playing, probably. This is a game where if you actually enjoy the plot, you're going to start playing through it over and over again, trying to beat Hades again and again, just to figure out what's going on. So, the way it works is, after you beat Hades and escape the underworld, stuff happens and it resets the thing back down, which results in you wanting to seek more answers because you learn a little bit each time you escape. And your main goal shifts over time as you learn more and more about the situation surrounding both yourself, the underworld, and why the surface seems to be in a perpetual winter. Which I really like, okay? I need to just say that right now. This is probably one of the most accurate portrayals of Greek mythology I have seen. It's really good. The people who wrote the stuff for this game definitely know their mythology. You get to meet most of the Olympians. so basically the way the Olympians, the other gods are, they can't go to Hades' realm because it's his own private domain. But they send you boons, which are basically upgrades that give you a choice between 3 blessings that will, upgrade your basic attack, upgrade your special attack, give you a new cast, give you, passive bonuses, stuff like that. And you get to meet all the Olympians except for Apollo and Hera. Hera probably because she probably just does not care, most likely. And Apollo, if I had to guess, it would be because Apollo is like the sun god and you can't get the sun in the underworld. I'm not really sure why he's absent though, because you see Artemis and a lot of other goddesses and gods. I don't know, because like Zeus and Poseidon are also able to show up, and the sea and air and the sky are supposed to be separate domains from the underworld, so that doesn't really make sense to me. And Artemis is technically a moon goddess, so it's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised they didn't put Apollo in here. It's not bad. It's not a critique or anything. I just would have liked an Apollo. Anyway, so the Olympians send their blessings down, and you get to, get a bit of dialogue from them. You get to thank them. Thank you for helping me. The first god you'll meet is Athena, who becomes sort of your patron. And you have to use their powers to slowly get better and better at the game. Sometimes luck into upgrades that will help you break through a difficult boss, so you can get to the next area, and then the next, and then finally face Hades for your freedom again. After the first run, a lot of secrets the game have been building up start unraveling themselves, but they just leave you with more questions. And I'll get to that in the spoiler section. As for how it plays, it's a isometric hack and slash. Very fun, actually. I really like the variety. You start with a basic sword, which is probably my least favorite weapon, and you slowly unlock 5 others, so you get a total of 6 unique weapons. Each of them have 4 aspects later on that you can give them Titan blood, and they'll unlock different versions. My favorite, the one I used the most, was the bow. I preferred the aspect of Charon, I believe, which is the one where if you hit somebody with your normal attack, your special, which shoots out an array of arrows in an arc, those special arrows will all home into your target, dealing a lot of damage because you shoot 5 or 6, 6 or 7 of them when it's fully upgraded, and you can get some in mid-game levels while you're in a run to make it shoot more or do more damage with those. That was always really effective for me. It was probably my best strategy. I tried out some of the other weapons. The second favorite would probably be the spear. I did enjoy it. I tried using the shield because I heard it was really good, but it just did not work out for me. The game's very solid, though. The fighting mechanics are extremely interesting. The monsters are arrayed in, a very effective manner. The procedural generation is great. I'm not a huge fan of procedural generation games. I tend to get bored of it pretty quickly, but I'm going to continue playing Hades after this review. I'm not just playing it for this review. I actually really enjoyed the game overall, and it's the kind of thing where you can just pick up, play it for 15 minutes for a run, and then hop out. The runs are quick and effective, but they have enough content that you're not going to get bored too easily. In addition, by the time you've gotten bored, you've probably beaten the game. Because if you're able to start clearing runs really, really quickly, you're still going to have to deal with the boss at the end. I will say that the final area, so before you go to face the Hades, you have this labyrinth where you have these satyrs who've dug out some tunnels that hide your upgrades. And in order to get past them, you have to find the one tunnel that has the dog food so you can bribe Cerberus. And I was kind of bummed out by this because, in that room, there's a healing pot. Now, you want to have as much health as possible before you go fight Hades. So if you want to have the best chance of fighting Hades, you want to get that pot and immediately go fight him. However, there are usually around 5 rooms. And they have bosses in some of them, and they have regular enemies in some of them that can deal poison damage, which can really weigh you down. There's not really another way to heal for the final boss. So, you have to basically pick a room at random, and there's a chance that it will be the one with the dog food. If you get that one on your first room, that means you can't get any of the other upgrades, and it really felt pointless to me. Why can't we mark the one with the upgrade? That way we can choose to do all the others first and then do it for the best run. I feel like there's enough randomness in the game, it didn't really need that, but to be fair, that's really my only nitpick, and it's still random, so most of the time you'll get at least a few rooms, and you can always just choose to go after the most important things like the boons or the health upgrades first. So it's not a huge problem. The bosses are very well designed, and part of the replay value is as you do later runs, You can add like packs of punishments, which change the environment. You get to choose which ones you add, but you have to choose a certain amount, basically. So like they each have like a flame value, and you have to choose a total amount that equals like 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, as you slowly unlock more and more stuff with your weapon, which was a nice way of keeping the runs fresh, because I felt determined, because the best way to unlock more stuff to upgrade your items in your room and all your other stuff to get like Titan blood or ambrosia or diamonds, you have to continuously do these challenges, which made the runs harder and harder, even as I was getting, even as I was getting bad at the game, I had to oftentimes make the game harder to compensate. So it maintains a good balance. I will say there are occasions where like certain runes or data list upgrades will just like break the game. Not necessarily like completely break it, but there are some upgrades where you'll definitely feel like this is the run I'm probably going to win on, which is kind of just a problem with randomization in general as a game mechanic. And like I said earlier, it is heavily minimized by this game. This is probably one of the best things that have, procedurally generated things I've ever seen. I don't play a lot of roguelite, so if there's a lot of roguelite players out there screaming at me, oh, you haven't played this, my roguelite experience is mostly limited to Dead Cells. The only other thing I played like that freely was the Chalice Dungeons and Bloodborne, which I didn't really like that much, but I did for upgrades and cool boss encounters. But Hades has gotten me interested in seeing it, although I might have just loved all the Greek mythology references. And that's where I have to get to this game's real strength. This game is like half roguelite action game and half visual novel. It's really interesting, and I just love it, quite frankly. The people who made Hades, by the way, Supergiant Games, have a great registry of games. I've heard that Pyre is really good, and I've been meaning to play The Bastion for years. Hades is the first of their games I've played, and if their other games are anything like this, then I'm definitely going to try it out. Because, see, Hades masters something that a lot of game storytelling has a big problem with. And that's that they managed to match the gameplay with the story. This is basically the opposite of lunar dissonance. It's called lunar synchronicity. And it's basically when a game's story matches the gameplay. Now, not just in the sense of, oh, the gameplay is getting out of the dungeon, hey, the story is getting out of the dungeon. It's the themes overall in the story match the gameplay. The best way to describe this is I have to basically describe it fully. So you're playing Zagreus. You're trying to break the cycle. You're a god. You're immortal. Every time you die, you just spawn for a pool of blood and try again. But you're really stubborn. You're determined to reach your goal, which is first is escaping and later is other stuff. So you keep banging your head against that rock, marching forward. And throughout the entire way, all the other characters are either cheering you on, or the others are telling you that it's impossible, you should just stop. And you can just stop. If you stop, Zagreus stays in the underworld and the status quo remains. You fail. If you give up, if you give into the cycle, you fail. The story ends. But if you continue pushing onward, the story progresses. By winning, by choosing to go back out there and die again and again and again. It's about this, cycle. The cycle of being trapped in the underworld, of fighting out of it, only to die, spawn from the pool of blood, talk to Hades who tells you to stop. You don't stop. You go out of your room, go out, charge out there again. And the whole while along, though, your actions are causing problems for other people. As you get better and better at beating Megara, who's one of the Furies, the other Furies are sent in after you, who have different attack patterns. And Meg starts hanging around the lounge, getting more and more aggressive as you, asking you to just stop. Hades gets more and more upset with her. You meet other characters from Greek mythology, like King Theseus, the Minotaur. You meet Patroclus and King Sisyphus. And a lot of other characters, and they reinforce this idea of being stuck in a cycle. You go through the motions over and over again. It's only once you finally break free that you get a moment of respite. Only for the cycle to drag you back down again, which I'm going to explain this in the spoiler section. And I really like that. The gameplay syncs up so well with the storytelling. And you just don't see that in a lot of games. Like, very few games are able to do that. Things like Dark Souls and Bloodborne do it, do the whole dying and being reborn, living the dream, that kind of thing. You also have games like BioShock, who tie the narrative of obeying your objectives into the twist at the end of the game. But games that do it effectively are very few and far between, in my opinion, and we could definitely use more of them. I'm very interested to see if Supergiant Games manages to achieve this with their other games, so I'm probably going to check them out in the future. Look forward to that if I get any time. Looking at my schedule, though, it doesn't look like I have time to play them in the near future, but it's on my list now. So yeah, Hades is probably one of the best games I've played in years. I should have played it a while back, actually. It came out in, 2018. Not 2018, I'm sorry. Early release for 2018. Came out last year, 2020. So I'm like a year late to this. I do really apologize. But, yeah. I definitely really enjoyed this. For those of you who are wondering, I played the Switch version because it meant I could play it on the go or play it at my break at work. So that was nice. If you're looking for a game that you can really sink some teeth into, get some time in, it's really well made, has some good combat, good story, you're gonna love this. If you're a Greek mythology fan, you need to play this game, okay? Like, you're never gonna see chaos in another game. Like, you get to hear about the relationship, the parent-child relationship between Chaos and Nyx. That's an ongoing plot point in this game. It's freaking amazing. Love it. So, that's my opinion. I say this is a flat 10 out of 10. It has a few minor flaws, but those flaws don't come anywhere near making it down a notch here. This is going to be one of my top games alongside Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Bioshock, other things like that. It's essentially perfect. And the big reason I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 is because I never got bored with it. I always just enjoyed playing it. Every time I picked it up again, I'm like, ooh, another run at Hades. And a game where I never feel tired of it is a rare thing. Like, there's always that one part in most games that just like, ugh, I have to go through this again and again. Or I have to grind up here. And I've even felt that in some replays of Bloodborne, but I haven't felt that in Hades, and I think it deserves a really good score as a result. Okay, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, we're on to the spoiler section. This is going to be talking a lot about the plot. If you don't want any spoilers at all and you want to go in here blind, and I actually would kind of recommend it because it's interesting. You see some of it, but you don't see the why in a lot of parts. And I would recommend going in blind for this because it's a little interesting. So, for those people who are new here, I'm a mythology nerd. I love mythology. For anyone, by the way, who wants more mythology content, check out Overly Sarcastic Productions on YouTube. They're a great channel. Red does all these, miscellaneous myth videos. They're really entertaining, well-researched. I would highly recommend them. That was just a side note. I just thought if I'm mentioning mythology, I need to mention that because they're a really fun channel, and I think anyone who's listening here should support them. But, so Zagreus is actually technically someone from mythology. I believe he's like a very obscure god from the old Orphic religions. Not much is really known about him. I did a little bit of research, but it's all like very, very vague, like one or two mentions here or there. So if you want to, find out more about that, the best source I could think, he's mentioned a big decent amount in the OSP's Dionysus video, because he was related to Orphism and Dionysus' whole death and rebirth thing. So they do a pretty good job summarizing some of his things, but yeah, that's basically it. In this one, though, he's reimagined as the son of Hades and Persephone. Yes, people, he was the son of Persephone. At the beginning of the game, he thinks that Nyx is his mother. But that's because he doesn't really know anything about Persephone. He's never even known that she was down there. And what it boils down to is that a long time ago, Persephone grew to kind of admire Hades, and Zeus decided, like the original myth, to give her to Hades as a bride. But also, like the original myth, for those of you who've only heard the new ones where Hades kidnaps her, that's actually not how the original myth plays out. See, what happens is that Zeus gave her as a, arranged marriage to Hades, didn't tell Demeter, Persephone's mother, and Hades, brought her down to the underworld. And then Demeter goes crazy, like, where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? And she gets sulky and angry, and after a few other things, decides to bring about eternal winter and not let anything grow. This is where winter first comes from. The other gods try and please her, doesn't work, so Zeus sends Hermes down to retrieve Persephone. Hades decides to let her go, but he has a crisis at the last moment and gives her a pomegranate seed, which for very vague reasons, because half the original text is missing, binds her to the underworld, and even though she returns, she has to stay in the underworld for however long winter is, a fourth of the year to a third of the year, something like that. So that's how we get the yearly cycle. Cool? We all good? Okay. So this is a sort of reimagining of that myth. And in this one, Hades, like the original myth, he was given to Hades, and, they married, but she admired him from afar. Hades was fated to never bear a son, and that any son would die. So Nyx, who's the mother of the Fates, the ones who actually write out all these prophecies and stuff like that, in case you were wondering, decided to try and help them after you died as a child. But it took a long time. Persephone was overwhelmed by grief and decided to leave. Hades let her because, he loved her, and if she wanted to leave, he was always going to let her. But she didn't want to go back to Olympus because she had felt they were arrogant and kind of callous and not uncaring. So she went to live in a secret garden close to the entrance to the underworld, shielded by her power from the Olympians. So Demeter is still cross and still has an eternal winter, everyone must die thing going on. Meanwhile, you were reborn and raised as Hades' son and Nyx as your adopted mother. After you escape the underworld as you try and escape the underworld, you find out more about your mother. When you finally escape for the first time, you find her home. It's really kind of a touching moment. The voice actors are all great here. And Hades is constantly angry at you because if Zeus didn't tell anyone about this, so if Demeter and all the Olympians find out about this whole arrangement, they're going to be really, really angry, and all the players that are involved are really upset that you're going to ruin everything, expose them, and basically destroy the whole world. But, Persephone is a little cross at Hades. You didn't even tell me? They didn't even send a message to say, hey, by the way, your son's alive? I might have come back or stayed or any of these things. And, as you meet her more and more, she wants to learn more about your life. But it turns out that you are, like Hades, bound to the underworld. It's a part of your godly domain. So you can't live outside of it for that long. You start getting sick, and you eventually just die and respawn at the pool of blood in Hades' throne room. As a result, you break out again and again. Everyone keeps and a lot of other characters start getting on you at this point. It's dude, you can't even be out there anymore. Why are you keep doing this? Meanwhile, Nyx and your trainer Achilles, yes, that Achilles, are you do what you feel feels right for you. We support you. You also get to pet Cerberus a lot of times, and Cerberus is just such a good boy. Oh. He is a giant three-headed hellhound, and he is adorable. Sorry, it's true. One of the things I actually really do like about the story, though, is the way that your actions clearly have an impact on everyone around you. Thanatos gets very moody and upset. Megara, as you beat her, and as you progress more and more, goes from taunting you, saying she's never going to let you out, you should just stay in your room, to getting upset at you and stopping talking. Her lines go from, occasional conversations and a bit of goodwill to, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I'm serious, Zagreus, I don't want to talk to you. Shouldn't you be out there trying to get out of here already? Even though you can't even live out there. You also have more friendly interactions. Again, you can pet Cerberus. You talk to Achilles, who acts as kind of your mentor and guide. Nyx is always supporting you, trying to help you do what you feel is right, although you feel like she knows how this is all going to play out, because again, her daughters are the Fates. You also get allies from the Olympians. You see firsthand how fickle they can be. One of the mechanics I really like, though, is sometimes you'll find a room with not one boon, but two boons, and before the battle, you'll have to choose one. Now, you get that boon, but you just snubbed an Olympian. They don't take that kindly. So for that battle, they will, activate, their ultimate attack against you. Summoning lightning bolts, giant waves, charm attacks, they'll stun you, deal a ton of damage, stuff like that. And afterwards, if you beat it, they'll, decide, all right, I guess I can let this go. I almost killed you a few times, but you survived. I guess that's enough. And you hear about their infighting. They start taunting each other, and when they notice that you carry boons or items that they've given you, they'll taunt the other Olympians. They might even have full-blown arguments. And you really get the sense that they don't really care that much. They're doing this partially because, oh yes, we love another nephew in Olympus, but they don't really care enough to do more than send you some boons. It's all right, let's go. But some of them do seem to care about you. Athena genuinely seems to see you as her nephew, who she wants to, mentor and guide. Ares thinks it would just be fun to have another guy to slaughter things with. Dionysus is dude, it's a party up here. You gotta come join us. Which, fitting for the god of wine, party, madness, and dolphins. Meanwhile, Zeus is, the firm god of Olympus. How dare Hades hide you from us? My brother has always been a bit of a, sour one. And Poseidon is just kind of let's have some fun and go fishing. Uh, I love Poseidon. All his lines are hilarious. As are Dionysus. And Hermes is like this really fast-talking, gotta go. Meanwhile, Demeter is still, trying to kill the entire world with her storms, and whenever all the other Olympians talk about her, like, yes, you might want to watch out for her. She's a little mad right now. It's been like a century. And she's like, don't ever trust anyone, Zagreus. They'll only ever betray you. Which is just, like, so on brand for her, But, yeah. The Olympian gods are very accurate. Again, I would have liked to see Apollo, because I'm curious as to what he would be like in this game. Let's see, what else? The Bone Hydra is just kind of a monster, so he's not really much of a character. But that's probably the one thing I miss. Like, it's like, you'd think they would have found a better boss for the Field Asphodels. I mean, the Bone Hydra is interesting mechanical-wise, but it doesn't really serve a lot of, like, purpose. Oh, one of the characters I like the most is King Sisyphus, because your entire thing is like, the Sisyphean burn, pushing a boulder up a hill only for it to fall back down again. Which means he's like a very accurate metaphor for the entire game as a whole, because you're constantly going out of the underworld, beating overwhelming odds, and even your father, only to die in your mother's arms over and over again. Failure no matter what. Which is really interesting. I really like it. By the way, he's gone full, island mad at this point. He has his own version of Wilson, he calls it Boldy. It's his boulder. He drew like a smiley face on it, and he asks you to talk to it a little bit. He says it's his best friend, because he's been doing this for a few hundred years. It was hilarious, I'm sorry. Like, that is the best, one of the best things this game has ever done. And whenever you talk to it, it's just like ... It's like, oh right, the boulder. I can't believe I gave some nectar to a boulder. Oh, it's beautiful. You also talk to Patroclus, Achilles' like lover. He's in the Elysium, like the paradise. He was supposed to go to the fields of Asphodel, but Achilles made a deal with Hades. He would serve as a retainer and a weapons master in exchange for Patroclus being allowed to wander Elysium. But Patroclus is bummed out because Achilles wasn't allowed to tell anyone the details of the deal. So Patroclus was just dumped in Elysium, and he hasn't seen Achilles, and he thinks he's avoiding him or hates him or something. Which, if you've read Achilles, the book, I might need to read that. I might need to do a review for that sometimes. I've read it a while back. I probably should do a review eventually. Maybe eventually. I have a lot of things on my list right now. We'll get to it. But yeah, they were like, lovers. So, you get to work that out. It's one of the relationships you can help out on, which alongside Persephone and Hades, you also get to help on Patroclus and Achilles. And you also get to reunite, Orpheus. The guy with the lyre tried to escape, bring his wife out of the underworld, but he looked back and, then he broke their deal, so he died, and his wife was dragged back to the underworld, and he eventually died. He's down there, and he's missing his wife and also his muse, Eurydice. She was like, his talent. Actually, there are a few moments where he's like, yes, I always sung about her in my songs, my muse, who helped me write such beautiful melodies. I might be the voice, but she was the brains behind it all. And she's a little angry because everybody always remembers Orpheus. Oh, the great musician Orpheus. Yeah, I was his writer. I wrote a lot of those songs. And of course, Orpheus is like, yes, I sung about it all the time. All my songs are full of, like, all these serenades of me telling him, yes, she was the amazing thing that helped me reach these heights. And, she's salty because she's locked in the fields of Asphodel, and she hasn't heard anything from Orpheus. He has to be a retainer as a result of some losing deal, which, it's all very sad. You get to reunite them, though, eventually. I haven't finished that questline in this game. Neither have I finished the Patroclus one. I just know that you're eventually going to do those two. Because I've gotten to the point where they're, like, told me, yes, you have to get your dad to release them from these deals. So, still trying to figure out how to do that. In addition to that, you get to talk with all the other things. Actually, really fun fact, Medusa is Hades' housekeeper, and she's, of course, since Perseus cut her head off, so she's just a floating head, and you run into other Medusas, and it's like, yeah, they're my kids. They were born from my neck stump, and I don't really have any authority over them. They're kind of monsters. so you don't mind me killing them? It's like, no, absolutely not. They're complete a-holes. It's like, oh, okay, I feel less terrible about this then. You also talk to Nyx, who is the goddess of night. She's one of the primordial gods. Okay, fun mythology fact. So, at the beginning of creation, there was Chaos, some vague entity who you actually meet in this game. Really cool take on the character. I think this might be the first time I've ever seen Chaos, as in like Greek mythology Chaos, represented in any form of media. So that was interesting. So Nyx was one of the first things created by him. And over time, they just kind of drifted about as, he was creating the universe and she was just his daughter doing her own thing. And eventually they kind of drifted away. Which, sad and kind of relatable almost, which is the interesting place I think gods often fall into. Gods are most fun in media when they're just mortal enough for you to understand it, but it's tempered by the whole, we kind of drifted apart while I was creating all of existence and she was forming the day-night cycle. It's like, oh, okay, so it's like when a kid goes off for their first job in another state and they don't call for a few years or something like that. Okay, yeah, sure. Interesting. And she has her two sons, Hypnos, the god of sleep, who, mans the checklist at the pool of blood for all the new souls, often comments on the ways you died. And Thanatos, her, edgy, goth son, who's, the god of death. He's the one who's responsible for retrieving all the souls of the dead. Which is really interesting. You get to see them throughout the game. Thanatos might, do a little competition where you both try and kill as many as you can, enemies as you can. If you win the competition, you get an extra health pack. It was always nice. So that's basically all the major characters. You have a few minor other ones as well. Like Skelly, who's the training skeleton. And you get to practice your stuff on him. I think that's basically everything. The game's really good. A lot of the characters are very well, characterized, obviously. Supergiant Games is apparently really good at this. The combat system is nice and fun. There are a lot of fun references to weapons. Although, it is really funny with one of the weapons, which is just a gun, and I was like, what's the mythological reference there? It's like, and apparently the notes for it are like, yes, a weapon wielded by Hestia. I'm like, oh wait, Hestia! Little Hestia, goddess of the hearth and family, the nice goody two-shoes god, the god that, has no myths about being an a-hole. Like, if you're looking for the one unproblematic god, it's basically Hestia. She is just pure cinnamon roll in every adaptation. And apparently her weapon during the Titan War was a gun. And the flavor text is, and woe behold us, or something like that mankind ever discover this, ever replicate this weapon. I'm like, oh, so they haven't given it to mankind yet. That's funny. That's funny. I'm just trying to imagine Hestia wielding it. Oh, actually, Hestia also doesn't appear, but she's not technically an Olympian anymore because it's unclear, but most scholars agree that she gave up her seat as an Olympian to Dionysus. Interesting fact. And yeah, that's basically it. Overall, like I've said, this is a very good game, very well-made story. And yeah. So that's basically all for this. Let's see. Okay, on to what's coming up soon. So, now that we're finished with this review, I wanted to let you guys know about some things that are coming up. Like I said in my last podcast, I'm currently working on setting up the YouTube channel so you can watch all this, so you can listen to all this on YouTube. And I'm going to be trying to do a stream or let's play, I'm going to see how that goes, for the new Pokemon game. I'm going to try and Nuzlocke it. So, I usually would have movie on Thursday, but movie releases have finally slowed down again, so I'm going to be waiting until Ghostbusters Afterlife to go back to the movie theater. There are a few new shows, like Girl in the Woods, which is a adaptation of the Crypt TV Door in the Woods, which is a new show on Peacock. I'm probably going to get a free trial of Peacock to try that out, so we'll see that in the future. That's probably going to be on Tuesday, though. On Thursday, I'm actually going to be finishing a set of reviews for the Heartstriker series. This is for the Nice Dragons Finish Last, No Good Dragon Goes Unpunished, those books. I'm going to be reviewing the last two books all in one review on Thursday. I've been re-listening to them. Mostly because I really, really want to talk about the spin-off series, the DFZ series. Because Rachel Aaron is a really good writer. And I really like her stuff for this series. I'm hoping she releases some more stuff soon. And quite frankly, not enough people talk about these books. And I think they should be talked about. So I'm making a bit of time on Thursday. that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing the last 2 Heartstriker books, and then in the future I'll be doing the DFZ series. Look forward to that. On not Thursday, I'm sorry, I keep saying Thursday. On Friday. It's going to be released on Friday. I recorded on Thursday, though. That Tuesday, I will be watching and reviewing Girl in the Woods. I'd like to figure out more about what that's about for my review. My only advice is go to YouTube, go to Crypt TV, and watch all their supercuts. Just watch it all. Like, they have a lot of, short horror films and series, and when I say films and series, these are, independent. This is, an independent channel who has a lot of practical special effects and actually does a lot of good work on their films. These things are, 10 minutes for a whole series. It's really quick. You can watch all their stuff in, no time at all. I binged through, 5 of their series once in a little under 2 hours. You can just power through it if you want. Check that out. They're a really good channel, do a lot of good work. So yeah, look forward to those 2 things coming up soon. And also Pokemon. Can't wait. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks. So yeah. See you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to the Dragon's Library. Please subscribe to this podcast to be notified of new episodes. The Dragon's Library releases new episodes Tuesday and Friday each week, and you can follow us on Twitter at Dragon_Library2. If you want to suggest an episode topic, my email is in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support.